Good morning, everybody. We'll get going here in just about 60 seconds. So again, just a reminder, this is a public live stream this morning. Normally it is private. We do 3 live streams a day. Lori does a 4th in the morning that is public every morning. Just a little glimpse into how we do things and our rundown and morning market coverage. As far as interaction, feel free to type in the YouTube comments. There'll be moderators there interacting. I personally am going to be watching our chat room community and interacting with TheChartGuys members there. Currently on my screen is my Fidelity Active Trader Pro setup, and that's a way that I gauge the broader market, keep an eye on all the major sectors and all the major names at the same time, but I also, on my other screen, will be using TradingView charts, and I like those for maneuverability and functionality way more than the Fidelity platform. And I go in between the two throughout the morning, essentially just determined by what I'm looking to do. If I'm looking at an individual setup and zooming in, I'm using TradingView. And if I want a broader look of the market as a whole, I am using that Fidelity Active Trader Pro. All right, well, let's get going. It is Tuesday, April 26th, 9 a.m. Eastern. We had a bounce day yesterday in the broader market, but we certainly know the bulls have a lot of proving to do. So I'm going to go through the rundown here real quick on the major indices, and then we'll look at some of our commodities, some setups that I'm watching, and then going to take some requests from members as far as individual tickers to look at before the bell rings. So we know the S&P 500 right now. I'm finding clarity, and that's how I want to start every morning, find what time frame is the most clear for me to focus on, and that's changing throughout the day. So I'll start right now on the 4-hour time frame, but very often by 10:30, 11 a.m., I find clarity as far as intraday trading action to be on the 15-minute time frame, let's say. And so then I just established to myself, okay, 15-minute is where there is the most clarity. That's the time frame that I'm focusing on from here on out. Of course, keeping in mind what the bigger picture is doing, but wanting short-term time frame, wanting a specific short-term time frame that is my guide for the rest of the day. So here on the S&P 500, we can see we're rejecting on the bounce from 4-hour EMA 12 resistance. And we know that if this bounce is going to see follow through, the burden is on bulls to confirm the 4-hour trend change, which would then have the daily bounce underway. If the bulls confirm a 4-hour trend change, we zoom out. We know we're scouting a daily lower high as there is tons of space in a lot of individual names for that daily lower high to form. So as we head into the morning, you need to determine what direction are you looking in and are you aggressive or conservative. So just with this current 4-hour setup, I can say aggressive bears are looking for a bearish entry to top fish high of yesterday resistances. I can say aggressive bulls are looking for short-term trend changes, whether it's the 5 or 15-minute time frame, to set up a 4-hour high or low, because we do have a good amount of space above that low of yesterday. So for me personally, I do feel that a higher low is the more likely scenario on the morning. Now, what would change that opinion? High bear volume. If high bear volume starts pouring in on the morning and all of our major sectors hit low of the day at the same time, instantly for me, that increases probabilities that we could drop to a lower low. But in the absence of that, if we see one of our major sectors take lead bull status, and I'll talk about that once the bell rings because that's what I'm looking for. Who is a lead bull? Who is a lead bear? And yesterday it stood out clearly that QQQ was going to be, or was at least attempting to be, the lead bull major sector. And so we're going to be watching for that, because if somebody is standing out as a lead bull and trading well on the morning for the bulls, then that's going to increase probability that the 4-hour high or low can form. But again, we need that trend change. And whether you're looking at it on the futures chart or whether you're looking at it on SPY, if you're looking at SPY, I would be using the hourly. And I can say, okay, high of yesterday resistance is up at 428.69. I know anything above 418.84 will be an hourly high or low. Have to hold the low of yesterday, break the high of yesterday to confirm the hourly trend change. And then we zoom out and scout the daily lower high. Again, as I was doing the market whiteboard this morning, which is just a rundown that I do, going over all the major sectors and all the major individual names, I was just copying and pasting a statement at a certain point, which just said, if the daily bounce gets going, we zoom out, we scout daily lower highs, and the hourly uptrend is our guide for those daily lower highs. So patient bears are hoping for a couple days of bounce here. And I had that mindset yesterday where, I was not comfortable being bearish yesterday because of how significantly we had dropped. And I was thinking from a day trade perspective. But even if I'm focused on just day trades, it is important for me to be looking at longer term timeframes as well, because I want to know the most likely scenario on the daily chart to help dictate the day trades that I'm going to be taking. So for me personally, as I've mentioned, in this current market environment, this is really my, we're about a third of the way through the year. This is a breather couple of weeks for me because technical analysis is my edge as a trader, and fundamental earnings reactions and fundamental FOMC reactions are not productive for my trading style and my strategy. So that to me means I'm just taking a breather. I'm taking it slow. It doesn't mean I'm not trading. I'm definitely keeping a pulse on the market. I'm definitely looking for some day trade setups. But I also know that this is the time where I am catching my breath and then, getting pumped and ready to go for right after FOMC to hit it hard again. And that is something that I've said many times is something that is a big advantage for traders that we want to be taking advantage of. And I talk about shifting market environments and, pumping the gas and pumping the brakes, but we choose when we trade. And if things are not in my ideal wheelhouse as a trader, I'm going to slow down. And then once they are, I'm going to get back to being aggressive again. I'm also recognizing in myself with my trading results just the past couple days, nothing really significant, but I am not in my flow state. I'm just stumbling a little bit because I was looking in the correct direction on Friday with a bearish entry, and then yesterday with a bullish entry, but both times I was too zoomed in and stopped out before the move that I was looking for took place, and then it of course took place. So that for me is an indication of zooming out, using longer term timeframes and perhaps smaller positions, giving more wiggle room. So again, just making a little bit of an adjustment in the current market environment, but knowing that I will be waiting until after the FOMC reaction before I get back into it again. So, and that's also important for longevity. If we're talking about full-time trading or even very active trading, even if it's not full-time, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, we need to be pacing ourselves. And for me, this little 2-week breather during fundamental season, we'll call it, is definitely a great time to do so, especially with spring just breaking. All right, does spring break? No, spring break is a thing. Spring is springing. So the NASDAQ, same thing. 4-hour trend change is needed for the bulls. Bulls must prove it. And again, you can be on the NASDAQ futures chart for clarity, or you can be on QQQ. And at QQQ, we need the hourly high or low compared to the low of today, and then the break of the high of the day. The very simple statement is, if bulls do not break the highs of yesterday, bears keep absolute complete control. That would be a big win. For me, the higher probability scenario is that we do see a bunch of names break their highs of yesterday and get some daily bounces going. And again, as a bear, I will then be more comfortable looking bearish once these daily bounces get going for those lower highs. With so many names, tons of space for lower highs to form. The dollar is still extremely strong, and we keep approaching, I've been watching this chart for years, and we keep approaching this 6-month equilibrium resistance of 103. And if we break bullish of 103 and 103.82, it will be the highest levels that the dollar has seen here, at least DXY has seen, in 20 years. So anytime as a trader where you're looking for shifting market environments or things like that, I always want to have a statement like that, a nice clear statement. First time in XYZ. The first time that QQQ lost the weekly higher lows from the CVID bottoms was definitely a very notable shift. The first time something happens, the first time uranium names are hitting levels that they haven't seen in 10 years, that's a notable shift. So we want to make note of when something is different or the first time it's happening after a significant amount of time, and that would be the case for the dollar if we were to break 103 and 103.82. So keeping a close eye on that, as the daily chart is still all bull mode, and even if we do pull back, we've got a lot of space for another daily higher low to try and form here next time we consolidate. So long story short, the dollar bulls are extremely strong. We know the metals have been very weak lately, and at this point, as Lori mentioned, it's a potential 6-hour bear flag. The burden is on bulls to prove to us that these are not bear flags on the metals. And looking at the daily perspective after the big red day from yesterday, bulls just want a daily inside bar. Just put a stop to the bleeding, tighten things up, and then tomorrow try and break the inside bar bullish for the daily bounce to then be underway. And we can look at our resistance level. We can look at the 4-hour EMA 12. We know we pretty much have to get over 4-hour EMA 12 resistance if we're going to start to try and negate these possible bear flags. We can see that silver is a little bit of a different setup. Gold right now, a little bit less clear for me. Silver is attempting a 4-hour higher low. So if we hold 23.40, it's a 4-hour higher low, and then breaking 23.93 for me would decrease probabilities of a bear flag significantly if that trend change and bull move over 4-hour EMA 12 resistance is able to take place. So again, the burden on bulls for metals to prove to us that they can get a bounce going. But inside bars at the moment for both of them. The miners are also trying to get a daily bounce going. And we're going to be testing the high of yesterday this morning. So 36.17 is resistance. One of two things are going to happen here once the bell rings. We're either going to break 36.17 and get that daily bounce going, keeping in mind that we have not confirmed an hourly trend change yet. That has to happen if we're going to see follow through. Or if we reject from 36.17, we have an hourly equilibrium to be watching. And again, just a tightening range. And at that point, we'll be looking for it to be a daily inside bar as well. So key resistance test first thing for these miners at 36.17. And again, just keeping in mind, because you can oftentimes see a daily bounce try and get going, and then you break the high of the previous day. Sometimes it's with an hourly trend change confirming to the bulls, and sometimes it's not. And those scenarios are not created equal. When I first started trading in my first 2-3 years, I would make a lot of decisions based off daily candles. And then I realized, wow, I can zoom in and look at the hourly time frame and get more details, because there are some times where the daily candle looks exactly the same, but the hourly can be doing something completely different. It can have confirmed an hourly trend change or not. And those are two very different scenarios. And I personally have more conviction, more trust in the one that has confirmed the trend change versus the one that has not. Because if you have not confirmed a trend change and you're coming off a big bear move, it's always just looming in the back of your head. Okay, nice bounce, we're breaking resistance, but we haven't confirmed the hourly trend change yet. And if I'm going to really believe this bounce, that has to happen. Oil, we know volatility is coming in May. So we have a very beautiful weekly equilibrium that has been tightening up. And again, the equilibrium is not surprising, because anytime you see a massive move in one direction and then a big move in the other direction, you know to be scouting an equilibrium. It's one of the most common patterns, and it forms after volatility. So we obviously know oil had a ton of volatility. So after this big bull move, can we anticipate an equilibrium is going to form? No, that would be a bit premature. After the big pullback, absolutely, we can anticipate an equilibrium is going to form. That is a huge range, and we are now seeing not price discovery. We went from price discovery to now just finding, feeling around this range. And we're going to look for this equilibrium to break soon. We got the inventory report tomorrow. The bulls are attempting another weekly higher low compared to 92.60. And we are tightening up for oil volatility. I would say the advantage is with the bulls, and the burden of proof is on the bears, obviously because of the prevailing trend, and weekly EMA 12 support is continuing to hold. But it's going to get very interesting for oil in May. Natural gas daily bounce. Trying to get underway here. We know we have a ton of space for a daily lower high to be the result of this bounce. So that is the most likely scenario. Okay, well, how do we determine when the daily lower high is going to form? We have to zoom in and use shorter term timeframes as our guide. So right now, it's still a potential inverse head and shoulders setup. Talked about this in the video yesterday at the market close. And I'm just viewing it essentially like this. We got a double top, inability to break resistance. If we pull back on the 4-hour, we've got to hold where we came from and then confirm the trend change if this daily bounce is going to see follow through. And then if the bulls are able to pull that off, we'll just be scouting the 4-hour higher lows as our guide, because when the 4-hour higher lows are lost, the daily lower high is likely set. So bears are keeping an eye out for a daily lower high to be the result of this bounce, just not confident that that lower high is shaping up just yet. Bitcoin continues to have a bullish correlation with the broader market. That doesn't mean it's immune. It is not immune to what the broader market is doing. There is significantly still a correlation, but it is a bullish correlation. So right now we got 4-hour consolidation, same as our futures charts, and we need to see the 4-hour trend change confirmed, same as our futures charts. The daily bounce is attempting to get underway, but we're not going to believe these bulls can get any follow through without the trend change. So the burden's on bulls for the higher low and higher high. If we get it, we zoom out, and then anything under 43,000 is just a daily lower high. But again, we are stronger than the broader market. And if we look at our ratio chart, BTC USD divided by QQQ, we can see that on the weekly perspective, we've been more bullish than QQQ over the last week and a half or so. So just making note of that. So what that would mean for me is I can make the statement, if the broader stock market can find a bottom and shift momentum, and knowing where we stand in fundamental season, that's going to be dependent on bullish earnings reactions or bullish FOMC reaction. If that were to happen, Bitcoin is positioned well to benefit from that. And of course, if that does not happen and we continue to see weakness in the stock market, then Bitcoin is not going to be positioned well for bulls. But it's just something that I'm keeping an eye on for that small amount of relative strength. And the burden is on the stock market bulls, because we know there's a lot of confidence in bears, especially as long as daily lower highs keep forming. And just another note on that, we had a solid bounce last week, but if we cannot confirm the trend change, bears are going to stay confident. All right, so some plays that I'm watching here this morning, I'm keeping an eye on Tesla and Twitter. So Tesla's a bit tricky because Tesla initially had a bullish correlation all yesterday morning, a lot stronger than QQQ. Then we had a solid drop in response to the Twitter news with Elon Musk and all that drama. And so now this morning, we are currently, just checking in on where we stand here, Tesla is just under where we closed, whereas QQQ clearly weaker than where we closed by a couple dollars. So I can say pre-market, Tesla still has a little bit of a bullish correlation with QQQ. And again, something that we need to be keeping an eye on into the open. But a double top yesterday with the high of the day at 1,000, I round. So 1,009 and 1,007 was a little double top there. And that's going to be a key resistance test first thing. So again, an aggressive bear is looking for a top fish on some individual names first thing to short against the high of yesterday resistances, while aggressive bulls are scouting hourly higher lows on names like SPY and QQQ. Other names that I'm keeping an eye on, NIO. NIO I have dated many times in the past. It's been my go-to trade. I forget which year it was, but it was my most profitable ticker one year within the last 3. And I've fallen away from it a bit recently. And in hindsight, it's because of the significant increase in the correlation between NIO and Chinese names. So it shifted. NIO used to be correlated to QQQ and to EV, electric vehicle names. And it was a very clear relationship, and I had it down and I was comfortable. And then the correlation shifted, and NIO stopped caring nearly as much about QQQ and the EV space, and it started correlating much more to Baba and Baidu and all these Chinese names once all those headlines came into play and we saw all the volatility in the Chinese stock. So again, that is recognizing a shift in the market environment, a shift in the correlations, and adjusting my trading style. So I have not traded NIO much recently, but I'm still keeping an eye on it to get back into that flow, because again, we've got plenty of volatility. I mean, this name puts up 5% moves in one direction or the other almost on a daily basis. And in a market environment where I am looking to be specific with day trading and mostly cash into the end of the day, and I don't want to be in names, that are going to be significantly impacted by tech earnings, I am going to be focusing on NIO a little bit more over the next couple of days. And for NIO, I can see this morning, we do have a clear short-term support level from the end of yesterday, $17. So if we can hold $17 and break 1742, for me, that is an hourly trend change. And I can see that the Chinese names are holding up a bit better than the broader market so far this morning. But again, like NIO, many individual names, we're just going to be scouting a daily lower high to be the result of any bounce from here. And bigger picture, the bulls have a lot of work to do if they're going to hold our recent lows. It is something I'm keeping an eye on. Can Chinese names, after the big time bounces back in the end of March, can they hold our recent lows and form tightening ranges? And again, this is where I scout for equilibriums, because we had a massive drop, a massive bounce. So I scout for a higher low in a tightening range. And that's something I'm keeping an eye on for Baba and Baidu and NIO. Again, the burden is absolutely on the bulls. The bears are still very comfortable on these names. So I'm watching now. What a patient bull will do is say, all right, I'm scouting a weekly higher low, but I'm not interested until you give me a daily bounce that has me say, okay, That's a significant daily bounce. I'll make an entry on a higher low. I'll use the previous low as a stop. My assumption is this is the weekly higher low. It has to be if I'm going to stay in this trade, and then the bulls must confirm the daily trend change for the weekly higher low to be set. That's a lot of ifs. Again, the bulls are not proving any of that, which is why a patient bull is going to say, prove something to me. I'm not just going to enter into weakness. That's what an aggressive bull is going to do. Prove something to me that tells me there's an increased probability that these bulls are going to be able to set that weekly higher low. And that's again from a swing trading perspective, but I do that very often on day trades with just a shorter term time frame. So what I just described on the weekly and daily chart here is something that I'll very often do on, the 5-minute chart compared to the hourly. All right, so now let's get into some ticker requests from ChartGuys members, and the first one is NIO. So we sufficiently covered that. 17 key support, 1742 key resistance. If we do get the bull break, we know to zoom out, scout daily EMA 12 resistance, look for the daily lower high, watch the hourly uptrend as our guide. But just like Tesla, we are going to test the highs of yesterday right out of the gate, and aggressive bears will be watching for a top fish bearish entry attempt. Shop. So Shop is another name that is a lead bear. How can I say it is a lead bear? Just by looking at it, because we have broken the fear lows and we are at the lowest levels in multiple years. So obviously right now, SPY and QQQ are not at the lowest levels in multiple years. So just like that, bing, bang, boom, you got a bearish correlation very clearly. Okay, lower high every day over the last 4 days. We've got a little bit of a double bottom the last 2 days. But again, we're still weak. We know what SPY and QQQ are doing with the morning setup. They had a bounce all yesterday. They're pulling back a bit here. But I don't see a clear hourly trend change setup trying to form on Shop. So we're going to test the low of yesterday, first thing, 453.39. And if that level breaks, the bears keep their complete short-term control. So again, you just got to keep in mind that we are in a downtrend on pretty much every time frame. We don't have a clear monthly lower high and lower low, but obviously the size of this drop is extremely weak. We've got a clear weekly, clear daily, clear hourly downtrend right now. So again, it's the kind of thing where if I am keeping an eye on Shop as a bull, the only thing that I would be doing, I wouldn't be doing anything unless I'm real aggressive. Because if I'm not real aggressive, bounce and prove something to me. Give me space, give me confidence that we can potentially set up a daily trend change. Because again, right now it is still all bears. If bulls were going to do anything today, we would have to hold 453.39 and break 475.85. And we are, many names are testing their highs of yesterday first thing. We are going to test our lows of yesterday first thing. So just clearly still standing out as much weaker and worth watching. Again, the most aggressive bull will be scouting a bottom fish attempt with that double bottom the last 2 days. But that is the only person interested in a bullish trade, is the most aggressive bull. LSPD. So LSPD bounce trying to get going on the daily. Have we changed the hourly trend? No. So no matter what we do today, even if we break the high of yesterday first thing, we must eventually confirm that hourly trend change if we're going to have confidence in this daily bounce. So resistance of 29.74 is potentially in play first thing. So again, even with the bull break, we need the hourly trend change. But from there, we will zoom out with anything under 33.13, just a lower high. And I always gauge percentages. Okay, how far away is that lower high? Well, we can go 10% today and still be in a daily downtrend. So that just helps me gauge, how much proving would the bulls have to do on this daily time frame? And the answer is still certainly a lot. So we'll be watching daily EMA 12 resistance. We'll be watching the lower highs. But the question for today, can bulls confirm an hourly trend change in their favor to have any confidence in that daily bounce? And as far as bigger picture, weekly clear EMA 12 resistance, only hope for the bulls is a weekly higher low compared to 24.91, and a daily trend change back to the bulls would be needed for any confidence in a weekly higher low. So like most individual names, bulls have tons of proving to do. TLT, trying to get a bounce going, possibly a bear flag at this point. Pre-market, we are up near the highs, so that's a good sign to try and negate the bear flag. And when I look at this, if you look at this daily time frame and say, well, it's a little bit choppy, I always just zoom out. 2-day time frame, nice and smooth and more clear. And we can see it's a very weak bounce attempt at this point. But with a break of 122.19 very likely coming, this bounce is still underway at this point. And I am watching the next resistance level for me that matters in the short term is 124.30. We got a little triple top of resistance right around that level from a couple weeks ago. And the biggest thing that I want to see for a notable momentum shift, look at this 2-day time frame. When's the last time we saw a 2-day higher low and higher high? Not since we topped out. So what I need to see is a big enough bounce on this time frame, because this time frame has more clarity for me than the daily. Have to see a big enough bounce on this time frame to shape up a trend change. And if I can, again, the first thing I said on the morning, finding something where you can say it's the first time in however prolonged a period. If I can say TLT is shaping up, or TLT is confirming the first 2-day trend change back to the bulls since the recent high at the end of last year, that will stand out to me as notable. Okay, this time it's different. This bounce is different. But if we bounce and reject from EMA 12 and then just head back to our low, nothing will change. The trend will remain as it has been, and bulls will not be proving a thing to us. So a bounce is underway, absolutely. The most aggressive bulls are in positions. Patient bulls are waiting for a bit more proof. NVDA. So NVDA trying to get a daily bounce going. Green candle yesterday. Have we changed the hourly trend? Not clear. I would say no. So high of yesterday is in play first thing, 199.45. If we reject, it's up to the bulls to form an hourly higher low compared to the low of yesterday, and then break the high of yesterday if we're going to confirm an hourly trend change and get a daily bounce going. From there, we zoom out with tons of space for the daily lower high to be set, anything under 226.70. So that's over 10% to the upside from where we stand, and daily EMA 12 resistance will come into play first. But again, that's just looking ahead. First things first, can bulls confirm an hourly trend change in their favor, break the high of yesterday to get the daily bounce going? KSS. KSS, big bull move yesterday, big bull volume. Did we change the hourly trend? No. So we could say it's definitely a stronger bull. And they had some kind of news yesterday midday, it looks like. But we are watching for an hourly trend change to confirm if we're going to see follow through. So again, another name that's going to test resistance. First thing, 60.40. If we fail, we look for the hourly higher low with tons of space to form. We watch our fib retracement size. And that helps us gauge, is this healthy consolidation or not? And we have a ton of space for this to remain healthy consolidation due to the size of the bull move yesterday. So all about 60.40 first thing. If we do start with weakness, the burden will be on the bulls to gain the 5-minute uptrend to try and set an hourly higher low. And then as far as the daily chart is concerned, look at this resistance zone. So a resistance zone is a tougher resistance than just an individual level, of course. So we've got 61.51. Look at all these levels in the 61s. 61.51, 61.75, 61.84. So I generally will just take the top level. 61.84 is the most important level for me. But clearly, with all these upper wicks, that is a tough level. So running into that level, being extended on shorter term time frames would increase probability of a rejection for me. You can see the hourly RSI yesterday was getting close to overbought. If we had shot straight up to that resistance, that's where you look for a top fish and a rejection. If we change the hourly trend first, cool off the hourly RSI, set the higher low, then it's going to be a bit easier for the bulls to try and break that resistance, in my opinion. And again, it's just an analogy of this is bulls, they made a big move, they're a bit tired, all right, cool off, catch your breath, and then try and get over that resistance. But like most individual names, hourly trend change back to the bulls will be needed. ARKK, so I use ARKK as a gauge for the growth sector. I use IWM, I use ARKK. We have a double bottom at 51.85 at this point. But we need an hourly trend change, same as everybody else. We do have an hourly support from the end of yesterday, 53.23. That's a key level for me. If 53.23 breaks, that's a big setback as far as, all right, we've now given back a good bit of yesterday's bounce. If we hold that level, that keeps an hourly trend change back to the bulls on the table. So that is a key support level. 53.23, bulls really want that level to hold. And then, of course, we got to break 54.62. But like most individual names, we then zoom out, scout a daily lower high to be the result of the bounce, anything under 60.42, keeping an eye on daily EMA 12 resistance as the first daily hurdle that the bulls will have to get over if we do get that bounce underway. So the double bottom is notable. And now we just need follow through, holding 53.23 on any morning consolidation. CCJ, uranium, trying to get a bounce going. So solid move yesterday, tons of space on the hourly for a trend change to attempt to take place. We're going to see a break of likely 27.32 high of yesterday. So the daily bounce, you look at it and say, all right, we broke the high of yesterday. The bounce is underway. But again, we need to confirm the hourly trend change if we're going to have any trust in follow through. Next resistance, we're looking up at 27.19 already broke. So 29.05 is the next level. Best case for the bulls is start the morning strong, give yourself plenty of space, but knowing the eventual hourly trend change will have to take place. And then, like most individual names, tons of space for a daily lower high to be the result of the next bounce. AMC, daily inside bar yesterday. If it breaks bull, bounce is underway. So key resistance, 1703 first thing, and then 1892 then becomes the most important resistance level for me. Here's another one that has a support level nearby. So SPY and QQQ bounced all day, no support established, but AMC 1659 must hold for bulls to not lose all the progress from the bounce yesterday. Have to hold 1659, break 1703. That would confirm an hourly trend change. And again, then we zoom out and scout that daily lower high resistance. So here's the open. We got a clear 5-minute downtrend on QQQ and SPY to be watching. And the simple statement is bears keep absolute complete control if we remain in a 5-minute downtrend through the morning, because we know we cannot set an hourly high or low on SPY and QQQ if we're in a 5-minute downtrend. So right now on QQQ, a short-term resistance level that matters to me, 328.32. If we do not break that level, we're in a 5-minute downtrend. Looks like we got a decent amount of volatility here. First thing this morning, decent amount of volume. So checking in, yesterday's first 5-minute candle for QQQ had 2.4 million. We'll keep an eye on that. So trying to shape up an hourly higher low. And again, I can look at Tesla and say, okay, Tesla is pretty much break even while QQQ is down 0.7%. So Tesla is trying to continue the bullish correlation that we saw from yesterday morning. And that's one way that I gauge who's stronger, who's weaker. First thing out of the gate, I look at the percentage moves of where we stand. So I can see right now that XLF is a lead bear. It's down 1.2%. And I can see that XLV, healthcare, is trying to be a lead bull down 0.4%. But right out of the gate, it's all bears as we are continuing to pull back here in our clear 5-minute downtrend. Again, SPY and QQQ in those downtrends. So no sign of an hourly high or low as long as 5-minute downtrends remain intact. Looks like commodity names are seeing a little bit of relative strength. I got uranium name here in the green. I've got the gold miners in the green, watching GDX 3617 high of yesterday resistance. And that's a little bit of a break because the commodity names have been doing the same thing as the broader market the last 3 days, but obviously not first thing this morning as QQQ is dropping notably. And those names are green. Just watching our sectors here. XLF up at the high of the day. XLV is at the high of the day. And QQQ is near its low of the day. IWM's at the high of the day. So they're doing different things. This is a shift as well. So again, the last 3 days, all of our sectors have been doing roughly the same thing. And in this moment, we've got XLF, XLV, and IWM trying to get a bounce going, a good bit off their low of the day and at their high of the day. And QQQ is at its low of the day going inverse to those sectors. So just a quick run through. QQQ, huge red candle at the low. IWM, long lower wick near its high. XLF, near its high. XLV, near its high. So that is a shift. So I've got clearly now established Team Bulls, the names that are trying to be on Team Bull, the sectors, I should say, and the sector that is Team Bear in the first 3 minutes of trading. And obviously a lot changes over the next 15 minutes through the morning. But what I'm watching for now is who is going to join Team Bear, or is QQQ going to join Team Bull and get a big bounce going here? Or are we going to see some of the sectors that are attempting to be on Team Bull head back and hit a new low of the day and join Team Bear? So I'm watching how these sectors are shaping up comparative to each other. Keep a couple more tickers going. So CGC, again, still significant weakness here. Unable to break the high of yesterday, and we're heading to test the low of yesterday, 540. This is our lead bear sector. And so anytime a daily bounce gets going from here, we know bears are going to be all over scouting a bearish entry. But it's all about 540 being tested right now, and if 540 breaks, the bears resume their complete control. So low of yesterday test right out of the gate. So the size of this pullback, when I'm gauging probabilities, can SPY and QQQ change the hourly trend? I'm watching this retracement size. And so again, I want to measure that retracement. I measure easily on TradingView. The charting software is way better. But there's our low of yesterday to the high. Still possible. You know, the retracement is only 382. So definitely a full bear morning. But the hourly trend change is still on the table. If we drop all morning, and if this retracement goes 50% and beyond, that's a big red flag for bulls, because then it's that much harder to confirm the hourly trend change, that much more distance that the bulls will have to cover. But at the moment, the retracement is more significant on QQQ. So we just did the measurement on SPY, which was 382 retracement at the moment. QQQ's retracement is already 60%. Much different setup. And again, that just goes back to our three sectors that are trying to join Team Bull and hold up better. And QQQ, clearly the weaker sector in the first 5 minutes this morning. So that Tesla initial bullish correlation does not matter much if QQQ is going to keep dumping. And now QQQ's 5-minute RSI has aggressive bulls scouting for a bounce. And we'll keep an eye on the short-term trends. Next time we bounce on QQQ, I often use the 1-minute time frame in the first 15 minutes of trading. I can see that QQQ is a 1-minute stair-step drop. So a real aggressive bull can say, all right, if we break the 1-minute stair-step drop bullish, I make an entry for a 5-minute oversold bounce, and I put my stop under the low at that point. But just watching the lower high every 1-minute candle, first thing here, for that full bear control. Checking back in on our other sectors. XLF still at the high of the day. IWM has weakened a decent amount. Our commodities are now weakening. So GDX failed the high of yesterday and has now pulled back a good bit. And CCJ is now in the red. So we're seeing bears start to take over a little bit. So commodities are joining Team Bear. And now just watching to see if any of our other major sectors, IWM is approaching its low of the day. Is it going to break bear as well? So QQQ 1-minute stair-step drop has broken bull. So again, an aggressive bull. Only the most aggressive is going to act on the 1-minute time frame. 325.12, now a key short-term support, and we're just looking for a 1-minute lower high to be the result of this initial bounce. So far, it's a good morning for bears. And the burden is on bulls to shift that momentum and try and change it. But a couple top fishing plays, NIO failed to break the high of yesterday by 8 pennies. Again, GDX failed. That QQQ 1-minute bounce was very short-lived. Definitely a good bit of volatility. Yesterday was a high volume morning for QQQ, and it's shaping up to be somewhat similar, definitely a bit less than yesterday. CGC is currently a double bottom at 540, but we would need a new high of the day to have any confidence that that level can hold. Netflix is testing the lowest price that we've seen on this earnings reaction dump. Low of yesterday was 204.51. We just held it by a penny. So again, a double bottom attempt there for the real aggressive bulls. PLTR. So trying to get a bounce going. Looks like we're correlated here with QQQ. More so than IWM, just because IWM didn't see a new low of the day. PLTR did, along with QQQ on the second 5-minute candle of the morning. As far as the daily chart is concerned, it's an inside bar at the moment. So again, no hourly trend change unless we hold the low of yesterday and break the high of yesterday. So low of yesterday's support, 1168, is key. Lots of red on my screen. Riot with a big time drop, 5-minute RSI is beat up. So I'm assuming without even looking that Bitcoin is dropping in response to the stock market open here. And that is the case. So Riot failed the high of yesterday, pulled back, rejected from it by 8 pennies. And now that low of yesterday is on the table, 1142. QQQ bears are making a big statement with this weakness first thing. 5-minute RSI is down at 17, but again, the retracement size, now the hill that has to be climbed to make it back to the high of yesterday, is significant. It's 1.5% to the upside. So the first 15 minutes is making that a much more difficult task. As far as percentage-wise, Facebook down big, Google down big. Apple is down the least out of the major tech names on my screen. Biotech sector still holding well. Again, biotech sector had relative strength comparative to IWM on both Friday and yesterday. But like everybody else, we got to break that high of yesterday, 8180, currently resistance. And IWM is close to joining Team Bear if we see a new low of the day here. Big win in the first 10 minutes for bears. Setback. USO. Oil holding on. So again, I would, rather than charting USO, I personally would rather chart the oil futures chart just to have more data, the overnight levels. So CLM, which is our June futures contract, just confirmed a 4-hour trend change to the bulls. So we zoom out. Currently a daily inside bar. So next resistance level is 101.55. And looking at USO, we're over the high of yesterday. So that's what I mean in terms of just different representations of that data, just more data on the futures chart. And as Lori mentioned, pre-market, this move did come straight on the hourly from a loss of support. So I like the 4-hour time frame for clarity on oil. Key support is now 97.06. We did break resistance. And bulls will want to see a healthy hourly higher low form next consolidation to ensure that it's not a 4-hour trend change with zero follow through. So QQQ at this point, because it is so weak, we've got a 1-minute downtrend to be watching. We had that little 1-minute bounce attempt. So short-term resistance, 326.09. We know bears keep absolute control as long as 326.09 remains resistance. And that low of yesterday of 322.51. We're currently $2 and change above the low of yesterday. And now at this point, we are over $5 from the high. So again, it's going to be a lot more difficult for an hourly trend change to confirm now that we've dropped this significantly on the morning. And we can see SPY weakness is now catching up a bit to QQQ. As IWM is at the low of the day, it has joined Team Bear. Tesla, very key support approaching, 973. We are in a free fall dump. 5-minute RSI is 12. So there's a potential bottom fish play on Tesla with 973. That's a very important longer term level for me. And just looking for a day trade bounce off that level, and certainly need to see QQQ find a temporary bottom as well to help any bounce there. but that's my kind of bottom fishing play where we are as extreme as possible heading into a key support level. I'm logging into my account right now, just in case I want to play. The public live stream here is throwing me a bit off. Should have been logged in a half hour ago. So again, right now, if I have complete focus on Tesla, the only two charts that I am looking at in this moment would be Tesla and QQQ. And I'd be watching on the shorter term, 1 minute time frame, because I can see that QQQ is still completely controlled by the bears. And here's Tesla at this 973 level. And it is just getting trashed. So very quickly falling through it. Right now, I'm just staring at the bid and ask on Tesla as it's still weak here. And I may pass up on this bounce attempt. Again, we did break 973, so that is no longer support. That's one factor as to why this is now a less ideal bounce attempt. I also am not seeing as much of a response to the current QQQ green candle as I would like. You see there's a new low of the day when QQQ did not hit a new low of the day. So that shows me we now have a continued bear correlation. And there's also the news factor. Tesla is definitely impacted by Twitter news. So I'm going to lay off. I'm going to be patient. I'm choosing the patient route versus the aggressive route. NVDA getting crushed as well. VZ. So VZ standing out as a bull, just the fact that it's up at the high of the day. Certainly not many names seeing that in the current open. Daily inside bar is likely. We had a very wide range yesterday. I would personally just be viewing this as the same bounce that started yesterday afternoon. So I'm viewing it as high of yesterday, low of yesterday. And we are currently testing the high of that bounce, 50.49. But for me, 51.44 is a key resistance level. And if we don't break that resistance level, daily inside bar and tightening range is likely. Bulls want a 5-minute trend change during regular trading hours, a higher low and a higher high to have some confidence in some follow through. So with the size of this QQQ dump, we know we're scouting a 5-minute oversold bounce here. So certainly no bearish entries at the moment, but there's going to be a lot of bears looking for 5-minute lower high entries after seeing the magnitude of the drop here first thing. So IWM with the new low of the day joined Team Bear. XLV and XLF still holding on, but certainly not enough to offset the weakness in QQQ. Netflix is still clinging to that double bottom, and its bounce started before QQQ did. So we'll see if bulls can get a big enough 5-minute bounce here on Netflix to try and shape up a trend change. If we do confirm a 5-minute trend change back to the bulls, then that double bottom becomes more convincing. Still running through some requests here. SBLK broke the high of yesterday. That definitely stands out with the weakness so far this morning. Must hold the low of today now, because if we drop down and break the low of today, we're going to be giving back that initial morning strength. But again, another note that we have not confirmed an hourly trend change yet. So wherever this morning move tops out, we will still need that hourly higher low and higher high So this move is coming straight off the low of yesterday. We will need the trend change, and then we zoom out like many names with tons of space for a daily lower high to be the result of the next bounce. So solid start, bullish comparative to every sector I'm looking at, but we do still need that hourly trend change for confidence. CGC double bottomed as well, so both Netflix and CGC, keeping an eye on that double bottom support. TLRY is now in the green, and CGC must break 553 to have confidence in that double bottom. So a couple little bottom fishing plays. If QQQ is going to get any kind of bounce follow through, I need at least a 1 minute trend change. So here we just bounced. 1 minute lower high is now 325.31. Bulls must hold the low of the day here and break that level to confirm a 1 minute trend change. And again, Tesla is just continuing that free fall. So without a doubt, there is an impact here, increasing bear volume. Weekly downtrend is now confirmed. There's a pre-market level of 961 as the only support level nearby. So QQQ trying for the 1 minute higher low. You can hear Sweetie Pants in the background on her back. Love and life. FCX dumping as well. Big bear statement on the morning. So FCX, we're watching the 1 minute EMA 12. If you can't get over 1 minute EMA 12, you're not going to bounce anywhere. Daily inside bar. Anything above the low of yesterday is an hourly higher low. So still plenty of space above that low of yesterday. But again, big setback on the morning, making that hourly trend change attempt more difficult. So QQQ is still a 1 minute downtrend. We are just watching those 1 minute lower highs. Have to change the 1 minute trend for anything to shift. DE, low of the day, trying to hold. Daily inside bar currently forming. Resistance is 391.93. And if we were to see a new low of the day, it's potentially an hourly lower high shaping up versus high of yesterday. So low of the day is a key support level, 381.70, to try and fend off an hourly lower high from being set. So still watching our sectors, still XLV holding on, trying to be lead bull, but QQQ is dragging everything down. Biotech sector, trying to hold the low of the day, started the morning looking better than many sectors, but if we see a new low of the day, that will fade. Currently a daily inside bar failed to break high of yesterday by 33 cents. And if we see a new low of the day, the probability of a daily inside bar will increase a bit. Tesla is just absolute smashed. Tesla is so weak that we aren't even coming close to 1 minute EMA 12 resistance. And the weakness of Tesla is absolutely having an impact on QQQ and SPY because of the weight of its holdings. So we can say Tesla is a fundamental reaction to Twitter and Musk. And that is, again, look at that bear volume increasing. Without a doubt, this is having an impact on these sector ETFs. NIO, big bounce, giving it back real quick. Tons of volatility there. So Tesla's going to have to find a bottom. Usually it's, QQQ has to find a bottom for Tesla to find a bottom. I'm reversed this morning. Tesla has to find a bottom if QQQ is going to bottom. This is the kind of morning on Tesla just where stop losses are so important. Because if, someone buying at 970, where I almost did for that bounce attempt, and saying, oh, all right, well, I'll just sell for the loss when the 5-minute oversold bounce gets going. And next thing you know, you just gave back a month of profits without that stop level. Watching for a bottom fish on NIO. I'm going to make that entry. So in NIO at 17 and going to exit if 1680 were to break. Ideal scenario is we get a 5-minute higher low compared to the low of the day. And I would sell partial into anticipation of a 5-minute lower high. So we're watching the stair-step drop on the 5-minute time frame now as well. Lower high every single 5-minute candle on names like Tesla and QQQ. Tesla's trying to have that 5-minute be a volume climax. But again, we can just be watching 1-minute downtrends here as our continued short-term guides. XLF still up near its high of the day. Again, our sectors that are on Team Bull are not doing nearly enough to offset Team Bear names. Tesla, another test of the low of the day. Tesla did just try and form a 1-minute. Nah, we're not even. It's a 1-minute bear flag still possible. So again, this is a very unusual situation. You look at QQQ and say 5-minute RSI at 12. But just being aware that this is a fundamental news reaction for QQQ as far as I'm concerned because of the influence of Tesla. So that just tells me it's an unusual morning. On the verge of an NIO stop out. NIO does love to break support right before reversals and break resistance right before pullbacks. But again, if QQQ can't find a bottom, NIO is not going to find a bottom either. QQQ low of yesterday coming into play. 322.43. Netflix broke the double bottom with the low of yesterday. So bears still in full control of Netflix. No bottom on the earnings reaction. Did stop out NIO on its new low with a few pennies of wiggle room. And that is my bounce attempt on the morning. So giving myself one chance. Taking a small acceptable loss. And at this point, I'm going to be watching for 5 or 15 minute, probably 15 minute lower highs to be scouting bearish entries on names that were crushed on the morning. ZIM. Trying to hold the low of the day. We got a little 5-minute equilibrium if the low of the day can hold 52.50. So support test right now. And we did see a higher open, broke the high of yesterday. But again, we have not confirmed the hourly trend change yet. So we're keeping that in mind. And if we do see a clear new low of the day, if we see a clear new low of the day, then hourly consolidation is underway. And we look for the hourly higher low compared to 48.21. And shipping names clearly holding on a lot better than many other sectors so far this morning. XLF still at the highs. XLV still holding on near its high. But QQQ is clearly the biggest factor here so far. MMM trying to bounce on the 5-minute. Anything under the high of the day is a lower high. 5-minute trend change. Back to the bulls needed if anything's going to change. Looks like we've got earnings. We had earnings pre-market. And we just broke daily support, and we're in an hourly and 5-minute downtrend currently. SU, solid bounce from yesterday. So up over the high of yesterday, at least initially. But again, it's another name where we will need the hourly trend change eventually. So we can say it's positioned much better than many other individual names. But the hourly trend change for any confidence in a daily bounce is still needed. Tesla's still not finding a bottom. Again, our RSI is out the window. The 5-minute RSI is in the 4s. But this is a very unusual, fundamental related drop. QQQ is breaking the low of yesterday, so much for that bounce. Back to square one as far as the hourly being our guide. There is a pre-market level from yesterday at 321.20. We now have a lot of space for an hourly lower high to be the result of the next bounce. But again, this Tesla reaction is just something to behold. Checking in on Ethereum. So 4-hour consolidation underway. Again, for me, Ethereum, the clarity is on the 12-hour. I'm watching this falling wedge the last couple of days, and just the fact that we rejected right from my falling wedge resistance increases the validity of this pattern for me. And of course, inability for crypto bulls to confirm 4-hour trend changes with the stock market weakness dragging them down. And if this retracement on the 4-hour bounce goes 50% plus, we'll be watching for the potential of 4-hour equilibriums. But again, this now makes the 4-hour trend change attempt that much more difficult with this absolute complete Tesla collapse weighing on markets. So that 973 level, very key. Obviously, it's not that level breaking that is the reason for this weakness. It's the Musk Twitter situation. Absolutely wild. Just a testament to the impact that some of these individual names can have when you have an individual name impacting a sector, and then that sector ETF is impacting this sector and all these automated trading systems and bots and algos. Tech sector is all roughly down the same, except for Apple. Again, Apple is holding on better. They do have earnings upcoming. So some bounce attempts. Again, we need 1-minute trend changes if QQQ and Tesla is going to prove anything as far as a 5-minute bounce is concerned. So I look at QQQ here, and we got 1-minute EMA 12 resistance the entire morning. Still currently a 1-minute downtrend. Tesla, same deal. Fresh lows on Tesla. Where is our next support? Let the 1-minute be your guide. 90709. Weekly downtrend confirmed. Monthly equilibrium shaping up. That remains to be seen. We'll see about 700. But that's a ways away. Tesla just had a 1-minute lower low with 0 follow through, so trying to get a 5-minute bounce going. XLF and XLV still up at their highs, but QQQ a lead bear. So we know we will be scouting 5-minute lower highs to be the result of bounces in names that are absolutely crushed. Again, still on the 1-minute. 1-minute EMA 12. If that is resistance, bounces aren't going anywhere. Let's see if QQQ can shape up a 1-minute trend change attempt. New short-term resistance on QQQ is 323.19. Not your standard morning. Here's the QQQ 1-minute trend change attempt. 323.19 resistance test. Another rejection. Unable to confirm the 1-minute trend change just yet. Bears are trying to defend 323.19. Little double top at the moment. If we break that level, 1-minute trend change confirms. We zoom out and scout a 5-minute lower high. But bulls are struggling at the shortest term resistance level we've got. Checking in on the Tesla bounce attempt. Still 1-minute EMA 12 resistance. Bulls must get over 937 for a 5-minute bounce to be underway. You better believe bears are going to be scouting a 5-minute lower high on Tesla after this weakness. QQQ failing the 1-minute trend change, so we're tightening up on the 1-minute time frame. So obviously this morning is completely shifting. Well, it didn't even need to do a whole bunch of shifting, but squashing bulls' hopes and dreams for confirming hourly trend changes to get these daily bounces going with follow through. And it's just highlighting the importance that some individual names have. That certainly helped on the way up when the bull market was going and we're at all-time highs. Individual names carrying a lot of weight, leading the charge to those all-time highs, but now we've got the opposite shaping up. Facebook big-time drops, Netflix big-time drop. Now we got Tesla joining the ranks. Not earnings related, but fundamental related. I must admit, I'm definitely very surprised by the magnitude of the drop this morning. Also, the fact that we didn't really see much of it yesterday. We saw a small, tiny glimpse, but nothing near what's going on today. Some big money definitely exiting Tesla positions with the drop this morning. QQQ failed 1-minute trend change attempt. Here we are testing the low of the day again. 5-minute stair step waterfall drop still intact with the lower high every single candle. For Tesla bounce targets, for bears to be keeping an eye out for entry, we're going to be watching EMA resistances. So 5-minute EMA 12 is still all the way up in the 950s right now. So that's a potential short-term target bears are going to be keeping an eye on. And we are in an area without a ton of support levels established on the way up for Tesla. We're going to be looking at 919, 900, 890 is a previous resistance level we'll watch to see if it acts as support. QQQ is testing the low of the day at the moment. Just broke without much follow through, so we'll consider that a double bottom. But for me, it's all about 320, 319, that little 1-minute double top, as now the most important short-term resistance level. So again, my mindset was, all right, I'll give myself a chance to play a bounce counter trend, but once stopping out, I'm not going to keep trying for bounce plays. I'll just patiently wait to be scouting bearish entries once RSI levels cool off a bit. New low of the day is getting more follow through now on QQQ. We're now on candle number 10 of the stair step drop. Tesla back to its low. Remember the Netflix drop after earnings? And then the news that followed it about Ackman exiting his however many hundreds of millions position. So this was the Netflix drop that morning, showing big money exiting long position. And I certainly believe that we're going to hear about whoever is liquidating their long Tesla position this morning with a very similar kind of drop. XBI fresh lows. Most important short-term Tesla resistance for me is 936.75. Full bear control continues for QQQ. XBI broke the low of yesterday, so we're at fresh fear lows, lowest levels we've seen in many months. So biotech sector will remain a lead bear sector as long as that is the case. NIO is attempting to hold its low of yesterday and form a little bit of a bullish correlation. Just the fact that the last 15 minutes we are trading sideways as QQQ continues to drop. Bull miners giving back a ton of their bounce attempt. Low of yesterday coming back into the picture. And again, just a note on the correlations and the impact that we see and how this current market works with all these automations. For me, I can look at this and say essentially that Tesla is negatively impacting gold mining stocks. And that may sound crazy, but Tesla is dragging down QQQ. QQQ is dragging down SPY. The broader market correlation we've been seeing with commodities and with these individual miners, it's all just this chain reaction. So things that seemingly fundamentally would be completely unrelated are related in an automated trading market kind of world. So we got some more short-term bounce attempts. We've got a 2-minute downtrend on Tesla, watching 936.75 resistance. We got a 2-minute downtrend on QQQ, 323.19, that little double top. The low of the day test for QQQ, still 0 bounce follow through. We're going to continue to have that 2-minute downtrend be our guide as it is nice and clear. We're now seeing XLV, who was Team Bull, it's at its low of the day. So everything is being dragged down now. Everybody's joining Team Bear with QQQ as far as our major sectors. XLF still holding on the best, but XLV was the strongest sector just 20, 30, 40 minutes ago, and now it's at its lows as well. Tesla is already at over half of its 20-day average volume. So another bounce attempt, keeping an eye on the 2-minute downtrend for QQQ, 2-minute EMA 12. Just keeping it simple. Bulls will not prove one thing to us if we're still setting 2-minute lower highs with 2-minute EMA 12 resistance. And the way that the tone of the morning has been set now, you know bears are just waiting for 5-minute lower highs. They're waiting for 15-minute lower highs. They'll be waiting for an hourly lower high. Tesla still near its low. There's an interesting 10-minute period there where between 10:15 and 10:20, all major sectors saw a solid leg down. That's when XLV hit its new low of the day and shifted from hanging around the high of the day to hitting the low. There was a 10-minute period where everything dropped pretty hard there. That's when SPY confirmed a 5-minute bear flag. DE has a 5-minute uptrend. Just set another little higher low at 385.32. That's the most important short-term level for the bulls to keep their momentum, but we are still a daily inside bar. We failed to break the high of yesterday by $1.30. So if we lose the 5-minute uptrend, that increases probability that a daily inside bar will continue to form. Question, if I'm an aggressive bear looking for a 5-minute lower high, what would you look for? So ideally, I want to see an EMA resistance aligning with that 5-minute lower high forming. I can be watching things like stair-step patterns depending on how it develops. Again, QQQ is still a 5-minute stair-step drop with a lower high every single candle. If we get a bounce going and we start to put in a higher low every 5-minute candle for 3-4 candles, I can use that as a signal. And when that pattern breaks, I then short the top. I can use the 1-minute uptrend as a signal. When the 1-minute uptrend is lost, I short with a stop above that high. But ideally, it is multiple things combining, a confluence of signals. So ideally, there's a 1-minute uptrend, 5-minute bounces underway, RSI levels all cooling off. And then we see a rejection from 5-minute EMA 12 resistance and a loss of the 1-minute uptrend. And that would be a confluence of multiple signals shaping up a 5-minute lower high. So still a 5-minute bounce attempt for QQQ. And just an example how different time frames show us different things. Essentially, I get the same information. QQQ 5-minute lower high, or I should say a lower high every single 5-minute candle. It's essentially showing me the same thing as the 2-minute lower high downtrend. So it all depends on the individual as a trader as far as which they prefer to focus on, which is more clear for them. Certainly for simplicity's sake, the 5-minute lower high every candle is nice and clear. Tesla is still grinding the low of the day. Again, for me, it's just zero interest in a bounce once it's very clearly something significant, fundamental related, with big time money exiting positions. There will be a significant solid bounce of multiple percent, but in terms of probabilities of nailing that low, they are not very high. Because if I were trying to play a Tesla bounce, I would definitely have already used up my attempt at this point. Wow, QQQ, even there. Still another lower high on the 5-minute candle. So as we head towards the conclusion of this morning live stream, definitely a big surprise for me as far as the Tesla magnitude of weakness. Notable impact market-wide. Bears extremely comfortable still on hourly and daily time frames. We will be scouting 5-minute lower highs. We'll be scouting 15-minute hourly lower highs, depending on your patience, whether you want to be an aggressive bear or a patient bear. And again, we are absolutely back to square one for bulls to try and prove anything to us, which they are certainly not doing. So staying bear mindset until something on the daily time frame is proven by the bulls. And again, back to square one, so that's going to take a while to shape up if it were going to. Pretty much at this point, with what the week has slated for us with earnings, these market bulls are completely reliant on bullish reactions from some of our major tech names. QQQ 5-minute bounce underway. Broke the lower high every 5-minute candle pattern on the morning. We will still need to see 1-minute trend change, 2-minute trend change if we're going to have confidence in any kind of follow through. At the moment, it is still a possible 5-minute bear flag. 323.19 remains a key short-term level. That was that little 1-minute double top, so we'll be keeping an eye on 323.19. I would say pretty much, if we want to keep it simple, if we are under 323.19, it's a possible 5-minute bear flag. And if we get over it, then the probability for a 5-minute bear flag decreases a good bit. So that is a key short-term resistance level we're going to be watching on this bounce attempt. All right. I will be scouting 15-minute lower highs and hourly lower highs from here for the rest of the day. Hope you have a good morning. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see Chart Guys members in the chat room in 5 minutes. Have a good rest of your day.